Hello, my friend. I'm really glad you are here with me today. Take a slow breath. Maybe you're sitting on your bed. Maybe you're on a bus after work. Maybe it's late at night and the house is finally quiet. Wherever you are, I want you to feel something simple. You are safe here. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be perfect. You can just listen. Today, I want to talk about something that feels gentle but also heavy. I love my family, but I need space. Maybe when you hear this sentence, something moves inside you. Maybe you nod your head. Maybe you feel a little guilty. Maybe you feel relief. I love my family, but I need space. It sounds simple, but for many of us, it is one of the hardest sentences to say. In many cultures, especially in Asia, family is everything. We grow up hearing things like, family comes first. You must think about your parents, don't disappoint them. And these are beautiful values. They come from love. They come from care. But sometimes love can feel tight. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I was living with my family again. I had moved back home for a while. At first, it felt warm. My mother cooked my favorite food. My father asked about my work. My room was still there, almost the same as when I was younger. There is something comforting about going back to your old room. The smell of the wood, the sound of the door closing, the familiar light in the morning. But after a few weeks, I started to feel something strange. Every day, my mother would knock on my door and ask, "What are you doing?" It was not a bad question. She was just curious. She cared. She wanted to talk. But sometimes, I was just sitting quietly, thinking, or reading, or doing nothing. And every time she knocked, I felt a small tension in my chest. I couldn't explain it at first. Why am I annoyed? I love her. Why do I feel irritated? She is just being kind. But the feeling didn't disappear. One afternoon, I was working on my laptop in the living room. My father came and stood behind me. He didn't say anything at first. He just watched the screen. After a few seconds, he said, "You should focus on something more stable." His voice was calm, not angry, just concerned. I know he wanted security for me. He grew up in a different time. For him, stability meant safety, a steady job, a predictable life. But when he said that, I felt small. I felt like I was 15 years old again. In that moment, I didn't feel like an adult making my own choices. I felt like a child being corrected. That night, I lay in my bed and stared at the ceiling. I whispered to myself, "I love them, but I can't breathe." Maybe you felt this too. When you say, "I can't breathe," we don't mean there is no air. We mean emotionally. We feel pressure. We feel watched. We feel judged, even if the other person doesn't mean to judge us. Repeat after me. Slowly, I feel pressure. Again, I feel pressure. Now another sentence, "I love you, but I need space." Say it gently. I love you, but I need space. This sentence is not an attack. It is not rejection. It is honesty. In English, the word space is very interesting. Space can mean the sky, outer space, the universe. But it can also mean distance, personal distance, emotional room. When we say, "I need space," we are saying, "I need room to think. I need room to grow. I need room to be myself." Not because we hate someone, but because we are human. One Sunday morning, my family and I were having breakfast together. The table was full of simple food: rice, eggs, fruit. The television was on in the background, talking about the news. My mother looked at me and said, "Why don't you spend more time with us? You're always in your room." Her voice was soft, but there was sadness inside it. And suddenly, I felt guilty. Guilty means you feel bad because you think you did something wrong. Repeat, I feel guilty. Again, I feel guilty for wanting space. That sentence is powerful, because many of us feel guilty for wanting something normal. I looked at her and said, "I'm just busy." But that was not the full truth. The full truth was, sometimes I just want to be alone. But I didn't say it. Why? Because I didn't want to hurt her. There is a phrase in English, to hurt someone's feelings. It means to make someone feel sad or rejected. I was afraid of hurting her feelings. Maybe you have done the same. Maybe you stay quiet. Maybe you say yes when you want to say no. Maybe you smile when you feel tired. Because you love your family. But slowly, something inside you becomes heavy. Let me share another moment. One evening, I went for a walk alone. The sky was turning orange. The air was cooler. I walked slowly, without music, without my phone. For the first time that week, I felt calm. No questions, no advice, no expectations. Just me and my thoughts. I realized something important. When I am alone, I can hear my own voice. Not my father's voice, not my mother's worries, not society's expectations. My own voice. And that voice is quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It says, "What do you really want?" In English, to whisper means to speak very softly. Repeat, the voice inside me whispers. Again, when I am alone, I can hear myself. Sometimes needing space is not about running away from family. It is about coming back to yourself. There is a difference. To run away means you escape because you are afraid. To step back means you create distance so you can see clearly. I wasn't trying to escape my family. I was trying to understand myself. A few weeks later, I decided to have a conversation with my mother. I was nervous. In English, when we say, "I was nervous," it means we felt anxious, uncomfortable, not relaxed. I sat next to her in the kitchen while she was washing vegetables. I said, "Mom, can I tell you something?" She looked at me and smiled. "Of course." I took a deep breath. I love spending time with you, but sometimes I need time alone. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I need to think. I need to rest. There was a long silence. Silence can feel scary, but sometimes silence is just space for understanding. She didn't speak immediately. Then she said, "I thought you were avoiding us." Avoiding means staying away on purpose. I thought you didn't want to be with us anymore. My heart hurt when I heard that, because that was never true. I reached for her hand and said, "No, I just need balance." Balance. That is another important word. Repeat, I need balance. Balance means not too much of one thing, not too little, a healthy middle. Family is important. Alone time is important too. Love is important, Independence is important too. Maybe you are in a similar situation. Maybe you live with your parents and they ask you many questions. Where are you going? Who are you with? When will you come back? Sometimes those questions feel like control, but sometimes they are just fear. Fear of losing you. Fear of not understanding your world. When parents ask many questions, they are often saying, "I care about you," but in their own language. And when you say, "I need space," you are saying, "I want to grow," in your own language. Two languages, same love, different expressions. I think many conflicts in families are not about hate. They are about misunderstanding. We don't know how to translate our hearts. And that is why learning English is not only about vocabulary. It is about learning to express delicate emotions. For example, I appreciate your concern, but I need to make my own decision. Repeat that slowly. I appreciate your concern, but I need to make my own decision. Notice the word appreciate. It shows gratitude. And the word but introduces your boundary. A boundary is a limit, a line that protects your emotional space. You can love someone and still have boundaries. This is not selfish. Selfish means caring only about yourself and ignoring others. But having boundaries is not selfish. It is healthy. One night, after many small conversations, something changed in my house. It was subtle. My mother still knocked on my door. But sometimes she said, "Are you busy? If you are, I'll come back later." That small sentence meant everything. If you are busy, I'll come back later. It was respect. And I also changed. Instead of hiding in my room all day, I chose moments to sit with them, to drink tea together, to ask my father about his childhood. When space is respected, closeness feels safer. When I don't feel trapped, I don't feel the need to escape. Maybe this is something you can try. Not silence, not anger, not cold distance, but honest words. You can say, "I need some time alone to recharge." Recharge is a beautiful word. It means to get energy again, like a phone battery. Repeat, "I need time to recharge." Or you can say, "I'm not upset, I just need quiet time." Or, "Spending time alone helps me become a better person." These sentences are simple but powerful. Let me tell you another small story. I once met a student who told me, "I feel bad when I don't answer my family's messages immediately." She said her phone was always buzzing. Messages from her mother, her aunt, her cousin. If she didn't reply in 5 minutes, someone would say, "Why are you ignoring us?" She loved her family deeply, but she felt tired. Always available, always responding, always explaining. I asked her, "What do you want?" She said, "I want one evening without my phone." Such a small desire. One evening. In English, we have a phrase to be available 24/7. It means available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Repeat, "I can't be available 24/7. It is okay to say that. Technology has made connection easy. But constant connection can feel overwhelming. Overwhelming means too much, too intense. Maybe tonight you can try something small. Put your phone away for 1 hour. Not because you don't love your family, but because you want to listen to your own thoughts. I think something very important happens when we create space. At first, we feel uncomfortable. The silence feels loud. We feel guilty. We ask ourselves, am I a bad son? Am I a bad daughter? But if we stay in that space long enough, something soft appears. Clarity. Clarity means understanding something clearly, without confusion. In that clarity, we see that love and space are not enemies. They are partners. If love is like the sun, space is like the sky. Without space, the sun has nowhere to shine. I remember one afternoon when my father and I sat on the balcony. We didn't talk much. We just watched the rain. And in that quiet moment, I felt something new. I didn't feel like a child. I didn't feel judged. I felt like two adults sharing silence. It took time to reach that place. It took small, honest conversations. It took courage to say, "This is how I feel." Courage does not always look loud. Sometimes courage is a calm voice saying, "I need space." Maybe you are afraid that if you ask for space, your family will think you don't care. But sometimes, when you never ask for space, you slowly become resentful. Resentful means feeling quiet anger over time. And resentment can damage love more than distance ever could. Let me say that again in a simpler way. If you never speak honestly, small frustration grows. And small frustration, if ignored, becomes a wall. I don't want you to build a wall between you and your family. I want you to build a door. A door can open and close. Space is like closing the door gently. Love is like opening it again. Both are necessary. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to think about your family. Think about one person. Maybe your mother. Maybe your father. Maybe a brother, a sister. Feel the love you have for them. Now, think about yourself. Your dreams. Your quiet thoughts. Your need to breathe. Both things can exist at the same time. You can love them deeply, and you can still need room to grow. In English, we sometimes say, "I'm finding myself." It means you are discovering who you are. Repeat, "I am finding myself." This process takes time, and sometimes it requires distance, not emotional coldness, but healthy space. If you are young and still living at home, this can be especially hard. You want independence. Independence means the ability to live and decide for yourself. Repeat, "I want independence." But you also feel responsibility. Responsibility means a duty or obligation to care or respond. Repeat, "I feel responsibility toward my family." These two feelings can pull you in different directions. Independence pulls you forward. Responsibility pulls you back. The key is not choosing one and rejecting the other. The key is integration. Integration means combining two things into one balanced whole. You can be independent and responsible. You can visit your parents and still protect your time. You can listen to advice and still make your own choice. As I grew older, I realized something. My parents were also learning. They were learning how to let go. Letting go is not easy. Imagine raising a child for 20 years. protecting them, guiding them, making decisions for them. And then one day, that child says, "I want to decide for myself." It can feel like loss. So when they hold too tightly, sometimes it is not control. It is fear of losing connection. Understanding this helped me feel more compassion. Compassion means understanding someone's pain and caring about it. Repeat, I choose compassion. When I saw their fear, I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt softer. And from that softness, real conversation became possible. I told my father one day, "Your advice matters to me, but I need to try things my way too." He looked at me quietly. Then he nodded. It was not dramatic. No big speech. Just a small nod. But in that nod, there was acceptance. Growth in families is often quiet. It does not happen in one big moment. It happens in many small moments. A sentence, a pause, a deeper understanding. Today, if you are struggling with this, I want you to remember something important. Needing space does not cancel love. Say that with me. Needing space does not cancel love. Again, needing space does not cancel love. It can actually protect love, because when you have room to breathe, you can return with a full heart. If you never breathe, you suffocate. Suffocate means to feel like there is no air, no freedom. Don't suffocate in silence. And don't explode in anger. Choose calm honesty. Even a simple sentence like, "I need some time to think," or "I'm not ready to talk about this right now." These are respectful boundaries. And when you practice saying them in English, you are not only learning a language, you are practicing self-respect. You are practicing emotional clarity. You are practicing courage. Maybe tonight, after listening to this, you will sit quietly in your room. You will hear your family talking in the other room. You will feel love. And you will also feel your own heartbeat. Both are part of your life. Both are important. You are not wrong for wanting space. And you are not weak for loving your family deeply. You are human. And being human means living in the space between connection and independence. Sometimes after I finish a conversation like that with my parents, I don't feel immediate relief. I don't suddenly become confident and strong. Instead, I feel quiet, thoughtful, a little unsure. Growth is rarely dramatic. It is usually subtle. There were days when I wondered if I had said too much. I replayed the conversation in my head. Maybe I sounded ungrateful. Maybe I hurt them. Have you ever done that? You speak honestly, and then later you doubt yourself. In English, we call this second-guessing. Repeat, I keep second-guessing myself. It means you question your own decisions again and again. But here is something I slowly learned. If your words are calm, respectful, and honest, you do not need to punish yourself for speaking them. There is a difference between being rude and being clear. Rude is careless. Clear is intentional. When I said, "I need space," I was not rejecting my family, but I was defining myself. To define means to explain clearly what something is. In that moment, I was defining my emotional needs. And emotional needs are real needs. Just like hunger, just like sleep, just like rest. Let me tell you about another evening. My extended family came over for dinner. Aunts, uncles, cousins. The house was full of noise and laughter, plates moving, chairs scraping on the floor, the smell of soup and fried vegetables filling the air. Someone asked me, "So when are you going to settle down?" That question is very common. To settle down usually means to get married or choose a stable, traditional life path. Everyone looked at me, smiling, waiting. I smiled too, but inside I felt tight again. I didn't have a clear answer. I didn't even know what I wanted yet. I just knew that I wasn't ready to follow someone else's timeline. Timeline is an important word. A timeline is a schedule for life events. Study at this age, marry at this age, have children at this age. But life doesn't always follow a clean timeline. In that moment, I said something simple. I'm still figuring things out. Repeat that with me. I'm still figuring things out. It means I am still discovering. I am still learning. I am not finished. There is humility in that sentence, and there is strength too. No one argued. Some people laughed softly. The conversation moved on. But I felt proud of myself. Not because I gave a perfect answer, but because I didn't betray myself. Sometimes needing space is not only physical distance. It is also emotional distance from expectations. You can sit at the same table with your family and still protect your inner space. Inner space means your private thoughts, your developing identity, your unfinished dreams. You do not have to explain everything. You do not owe everyone a detailed plan for your future. You can say, "I'm taking my time," or "I'm exploring different options," or "I'm focusing on personal growth right now." Try saying that slowly. I'm focusing on personal growth. Notice how calm that sounds. Personal growth means becoming more mature, more self-aware, more aligned with your true self. And sometimes personal growth requires silence. There were weekends when I decided to wake up early, before anyone else. The house would still be dark, the kitchen quiet, the air cool. I would sit by the window with a cup of tea. In those moments, I didn't feel like a son or a teacher or a person with responsibilities. I just felt like me. There is something sacred about early morning. Sacred means deeply meaningful, almost holy. The world has not started asking for your attention yet. And in that quiet, I would write, not for anyone else, not for work, just to understand myself. When you create space, you give your inner voice a microphone. Without space, your inner voice becomes background noise. Maybe you don't need to move out of your house to find space. Maybe you just need small rituals. A walk alone, a journal, a silent cup of coffee, a short no when you usually say yes. These small acts are not rebellion. Rebellion is aggressive resistance. This is not rebellion. This is self-awareness. And self-awareness makes your relationships healthier. I also had to learn something difficult. Space goes both ways. If I ask for space, I must also give space. There were times when my mother didn't want to talk. She seemed tired, distracted. In the past, I might have asked, "What's wrong? Why are you quiet? But then I remembered how I feel when someone doesn't allow me quiet. So instead, I said, if you want to rest, I understand. Respect creates safety. Safety allows love to breathe. Sometimes we think closeness means constant interaction. But true closeness allows silence. True closeness allows difference. There is a phrase I love in English. Agree to disagree. Repeat it. Agree to disagree. It means we accept that we have different opinions, and we don't need to fight about it. My father and I do not agree on everything. We see the world differently. He values stability above all. I value meaning and flexibility. But we have learned something. We don't need to change each other to love each other. That realization gave me enormous peace. Enormous means very, very large. Peace does not mean there are no differences. It means differences do not threaten the relationship. Maybe you are afraid that if you create distance, your family will feel abandoned. Abandoned means left alone without care. But distance with explanation is not abandonment. Silence without explanation can feel like abandonment. That is why communication matters. You can say, I'm not pulling away. I'm just creating space to grow. Or, I need some independence, but I still care deeply about us. These sentences build bridges. A bridge connects two places without forcing them to become one. You and your family do not need to become the same person. You just need connection. Let me share a more vulnerable moment. There was a time when I almost moved to another city. I didn't tell my parents immediately. I was afraid of their reaction. When I finally told them, my mother looked shocked. Why so far, she asked. I could see fear in her eyes. Fear of distance. Fear of change. I felt torn. Torn means pulled in two directions. Part of me wanted to protect her from pain. Another part of me wanted to protect my own future. That night, I sat alone and asked myself a hard question. If I always choose comfort for others over growth for myself, who will I become? It was not an easy question, but it was honest. In the end, I didn't move. Not because they stopped me, but because I realized I could grow where I was, and that choice felt free. Freedom is powerful when it is chosen, not forced. Space is meaningful when it is intentional, not reactive. I want you to notice something. When we talk about family and space, we are really talking about identity. Identity is who you are. Not just your job, not just your role, but your values, your beliefs, your dreams. When you are young, your identity is often connected to your family. You are someone's child, someone's sibling, someone's responsibility. But as you grow, you become your own person. And that transition is delicate. Delicate means easily hurt, easily damaged. It requires patience from you and from them. You may not be able to control how your family reacts, but you can control your tone, your words, your consistency. Consistency is repeating the same calm message over time. If you say, I need time alone, and you say it kindly again and again, eventually it becomes normal. Change is uncomfortable at first. Then it becomes routine. Then it becomes reality. I think one of the biggest fears we have is this: if I take space, will they still love me? Love in healthy families does not disappear because of distance. In fact, sometimes distance reveals the strength of love. When I started spending more intentional time alone, something surprising happened. When I came back to the living room, I was more present. Present means fully there, attentive. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't irritated. I was genuinely interested. Space made my love cleaner, less forced, more chosen. And that is a beautiful feeling. Chosen love, not love based on obligation. Obligation is something you do because you feel you must. Chosen love is something you do because you want to. Imagine saying, I'm spending time with you because I want to, not because I have to. That sentence changes everything. You are not rejecting your family. You are choosing them again and again, freely. Maybe right now you are in a stage where space feels impossible. Maybe you live in a small apartment. Maybe your culture expects constant togetherness. Then your space might be internal. Internal means inside you, a boundary in your mind. For example, when someone criticizes your life choices, instead of absorbing every word as truth, you can think, this is their perspective, not my identity. Repeat. This is their perspective, not my identity. That small mental space protects you. It prevents resentment. It allows compassion. As I sit here speaking to you, I think about how many listeners are carrying quiet guilt. Guilt for wanting to travel. Guilt for choosing a different career. Guilt for not calling every day. Guilt for enjoying solitude. But solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is chosen aloneness. Loneliness is painful isolation. They are different. You can love your family deeply and still cherish solitude. Cherish means to value something highly. I cherish my quiet time. Try saying that. It sounds soft, respectful, confident. As we come toward the end of this conversation, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you are sitting with your family years from now. You are more mature, more settled in yourself. You look back at this stage of life. Will you be proud that you silenced yourself? Or will you be proud that you learned to speak gently and honestly? Growth is not about becoming distant. It is about becoming defined. Defined, but not defensive. Independent, but not cold. Connected, but not trapped. You can say, I love you. And in the same breath, I need space. Both sentences can exist together. They do not cancel each other. They complete each other. Right now, take a slow breath. Think about one small way you can create healthy space this week. One honest sentence. 1 hour of quiet. One boundary spoken kindly. You are not breaking your family by growing. You are evolving within it. And when you learn to express this in English, slowly, clearly, thoughtfully, you are not just learning vocabulary. You are learning emotional fluency. Fluency is not just speed. It is comfort. It is clarity. It is alignment between what you feel and what you say. I am proud of you for even listening to this, because it means you care about your family and about yourself. And that balance is not easy, but it is possible. Sometimes after we say, I need space, life does not immediately become peaceful. There may still be tension. There may still be misunderstandings. Change inside a family system is slow because habits are old, roles are old, expectations are old. For many years, maybe you were the good child, the one who listened, the one who didn't argue, the one who adjusted. To adjust means to change yourself to fit a situation. Maybe you adjusted so well that people forgot you had your own shape. And now, when you begin to show your real opinions, your real needs, it feels uncomfortable, not only for them, for you too, because you are stepping out of a familiar role. In English, we sometimes say, I'm stepping into my own. Repeat that softly. I'm stepping into my own. It means you are becoming fully yourself. That process can feel lonely at first. There was a time when I noticed something subtle. When my parents talked about future plans, they no longer assumed I would automatically follow their ideas. They would ask, "What do you think?" That small question felt like respect. But I also had to earn that respect through consistency. Consistency means behaving in a stable, reliable way over time. If one day I say, I need space, and the next day I explode in anger, that creates confusion. But if I calmly repeat my boundaries and calmly show love, calmly show responsibility, slowly the message becomes clear. I am not rejecting you. I am defining myself. There is a beautiful phrase, mutual understanding. Mutual means shared by both sides. Understanding is the ability to see clearly. Repeat, we are building mutual understanding. Families are not perfect. They are living systems. And every system resists change at first. If you begin to say no more often, someone might say, you've changed. And maybe you have. But change is not betrayal. It is development. Development means gradual growth. If you stayed exactly the same at 25 as you were at 15, that would be strange. Growth requires adjustment on both sides. Sometimes space also means forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for not being the perfect child. Forgiving yourself for not meeting every expectation. Forgiving yourself for choosing your own path. Forgiveness is powerful. Not only forgiving others, but forgiving yourself for being human. There was one particular moment I remember clearly. My mother and I had a disagreement. It wasn't dramatic, but it was emotional. She wanted me to attend a family event. I was exhausted from work and wanted to rest. She said, "Family is more important than work." I said, "My health is important too." We both went quiet. The air felt heavy. Later that evening, I sat alone and asked myself, was I selfish? That question can be dangerous if it is not balanced. Selfish means caring only about your own benefit without regard for others. But taking care of your mental and physical health is not selfish. It is responsible. Responsible means aware of consequences and acting wisely. If I attend every event while exhausted and resentful, my presence is not loving. It is forced. But if I choose carefully and show up with energy and willingness, My presence is meaningful. The next day, I told her, I couldn't come because I was tired, but I still care. Next time, I'll try to plan better. That sentence showed two things: a boundary and commitment. Space does not mean disconnection. It means intentional connection. Intentional means done on purpose, with awareness. I want you to notice how many of these words are emotional words. Boundary, clarity, compassion, respect, balance, growth. When you learn to say these ideas in English, you are strengthening your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own feelings and respond wisely to others. You are not just learning a language. You are learning how to navigate life. Sometimes listeners write to me and say, I feel trapped between my dreams and my family's expectations. Trapped means unable to move freely. That feeling is heavy. But often, the trap is not physical. It is internal. You assume that if you disappoint someone, you will lose their love. But love that disappears because you choose your own path was never secure to begin with. Secure love allows differentiation. Differentiation is a psychological term. It means being connected but still separate, being close but still individual. You and your family are connected, but you are not identical. You are not a copy. You are not a continuation of someone else's unfinished dream. You are your own human being. And recognizing that does not reduce love. It clarifies it. There is another important concept: emotional responsibility. Emotional responsibility means you are responsible for your own feelings, not for controlling everyone else's feelings. If you say, I need space, and someone feels sad, that sadness belongs to them. You can respond with kindness. But you cannot live your entire life trying to prevent every uncomfortable emotion in others. That is not sustainable. Sustainable means able to continue for a long time without damage. Living only to avoid disappointing others is not sustainable. You will eventually burn out. Burnout means to become emotionally exhausted from too much pressure. And when you burn out, your relationships suffer more. So sometimes short-term discomfort leads to long-term health. That is maturity. Maturity is not obedience. Maturity is thoughtful independence. I remember the first time I traveled alone for a longer period. I missed my family. The house felt far away. Their voices felt distant. And in that distance, I realized something unexpected. Space had strengthened my appreciation. Appreciation means recognizing value. When I called home, the conversations were warmer, less tense, more curious. Distance had removed daily friction. Friction means small, repeated irritation. Too much constant contact can create friction. Space can reduce friction, but space without communication can create confusion. So again, balance. There is a rhythm to healthy relationships. Close, then apart. Together, then alone. Like breathing. Inhale. Exhale. If you only inhale and never exhale, you suffocate. If you only exhale and never inhale, you weaken. Families need rhythm too. You might be in a phase where you are inhaling independence, That does not mean you will stop exhaling love. And maybe one day, when your parents grow older, the rhythm will change again. You may become the one offering stability, the one offering care. And because you built your identity clearly, you will give care freely, not resentfully. Resentment is heavy. Freedom is light. I want to share one final reflection with you. Loving your family does not require shrinking yourself. Shrinking means making yourself smaller to fit. If you constantly shrink, one day you may not recognize yourself. Healthy love allows expansion. Expansion means growth outward, becoming fuller. You can expand and still stay connected. Imagine a tree. Its roots are deep in the ground. That is family. But its branches grow wide and high. That is you. The branches do not betray the roots by reaching toward the sky. They honor the roots by growing strong. Maybe today, you are simply learning how to grow upward without breaking connection below. That is not easy, but it is natural. If you are listening and thinking, "This is exactly how I feel," then I want you to know you are not alone. Your desire for space is not a sign of ingratitude. It is a sign of evolution. Evolution means gradual transformation into something more developed. You are evolving, and your family slowly can evolve too. But someone must begin the conversation. Maybe that someone is you. Not with anger, not with accusation, but with calm clarity. I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I need space to become myself. Those sentences can live together. They do not fight each other. They support each other. As you continue learning English, practice these emotional sentences. Practice saying, "I need time to think. I respect your opinion. I'm choosing a different path. I still care about you." These are not just phrases. They are tools for a balanced life. And if today you are in a quiet room, feeling that mix of love and pressure, remember this. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to define your own timeline. And you are allowed to love your family deeply while still protecting your inner world. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one gentle image. Imagine yourself standing in your childhood home. Maybe the walls are familiar. Maybe the sounds are familiar. Maybe even the arguments are familiar. Now imagine opening a window. Not to escape. Not to leave forever. But to let fresh air come in. That is what space is. Fresh air. It does not destroy the house. It makes the house healthier. You are not disloyal for wanting air. You are not ungrateful for wanting quiet. You are a growing human being learning how to balance connection and independence. And that balance will not always be perfect. There will be awkward conversations. There will be misunderstandings. There may even be moments of silence that feel heavy. But if your heart is honest and your tone is kind, love can survive those moments. Love can adapt. And so can you. Maybe tonight, instead of feeling guilty, you can simply acknowledge your truth. I love my family. And I am becoming myself. Both can be true. Both are true. As you continue your English journey, Remember that language is not just grammar and pronunciation. It is expression. It is clarity. It is courage. Every time you speak a boundary calmly, you are practicing fluency. Every time you say what you truly feel, you are strengthening your voice. And your voice matters. Not only in English, but in your life. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you feel a little lighter, a little clearer, a little more confident in the quiet truth inside you. This is English with Thomas. I'm Thomas. Keep speaking, keep growing, and keep trusting yourself.